Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we will be looking at something a little bit different. We are looking at the Microsoft Power Platform. Now this is a bit of a departure from JavaScript, but after some discussions with other programmers, I realized that a lot of people don't know the power of the Microsoft Power Platform. Unintended. So what exactly is the Power Platform? Well, it's a selection of Microsoft products that are all integrated and can communicate with each other. While on the surface this seems pretty useful, it goes way deeper than you can imagine, as everything is integrated. Now then, let's dive into the Power Platform. While there are a lot of facets to it, I'll be focusing on the three main ones. First up, we have PowerApps, SharePoint, and PowerAutomate. How you can look at those three are as follows. PowerApps is essentially the GUI, the front end, layouts, lots of functionality in there. Here you can create an entire application with a whole bunch of functionality, manipulating data, buttons, navigation, all that kind of stuff. Next, we have SharePoint. SharePoint is essentially the database in this scenario. However, it also allows for editing of data and things of that nature. This also has the benefit of having a way to neatly format SharePoint lists so that even if you are viewing the back end of the Power Apps, it's still easy to see what you are looking at. Lastly, we have PowerAutomate. Probably the thing people misunderstand the most. Everyone thinks you can automate sending emails or maybe sending some notifications, which yes, you absolutely can do. But you can also, with some ingenuity, have an SQL database, export a CSV file, send it via email, have that email caught by PowerAutomate, pass that CSV, import it into SharePoint as a list, and have it then connect to PowerApps so you can create graphs and all kinds of other things. Now that sounds super rad, and on top of all of that, you can also use it on mobile, tablet, Mac, iPhone, and Ubuntu. Whatever it is, you can use it on it, as it's mostly a web-based service. It just works everywhere. Rad. In order to go through all of these things, we will be making a little app each time to introduce more and more features. So at this point, to keep it easy, we'll be making an expense tracker. Input some details of the purchase, add the value, and it will save it to a SharePoint list. We can then do some basic formatting on the SharePoint list to show the totals. However, before we get anywhere near that, let's start with a quick overview of the interface as we start up this project. First up, we will be looking at the home page. On this page, you will generally get updates of new PowerApps features, AI integration, and some basic info of the current apps you have already created. On the left-hand side, you can see the navigation pane. You can make this in PowerApps too, by the way. First is the home page, which we're on. Next, you can see the Create button. This is where you can start creating your application. Next, we have the Learn section. This is where you can access PowerApps documentation and learn more about PowerApps. Then we have Apps. This is a list of all the apps you have already created or apps that have been shared with you. This next section is Tables. The tables created here are databases that are stored in Dataverse, a Microsoft cloud storage SharePoint kind of thing, a topic unto its own. Next we have Flows. This just takes you to the PowerAutomate side of things. We will go over this later in this project. Next, we have Solutions. This is another database related option. Now, as we aren't going to be going over that in this project, we will leave that at that for now. Lastly, we have the Power Platform. This is just a convenient link that will take you to the Power Platform. Dope. UI guide is done. Now for this video, we will be taking it easy and just creating the base app. So let's do that now. Just click on Create. Now, depending on how you want to build this app, you can choose to build it from SharePoint. It will create a basic 3-page app. View, edit, and add pages. This rarely will be enough for what you need, but it's a good start. However, we're going to be skipping that introduction steps there. So we will start with making a blank application. So let's click on Blank App. Now again, overwhelmed by so many choices. Blank Canvas app is just a basic app. We aren't using Dataverse, so we can skip that section. And lastly, the Power Pages website. Well, it's in the name. It's more of a website, so easier to see data and all that kind of stuff for users. We will be choosing the Blank Canvas app. So click Create. Now that we are here, we are going to be making more of a desktop related design, so choose the tablet option and give it a name. I have just called mine Expense Tracker YouTube. Now that we've given it a name, click Create. And you're done. Well, give it some time. It will finish building the app first, then you're done. Now that our app has been created, we will very briefly go over the interface. Over here you can see we have screen 1. Any screens you add will be listed down here. You'll also see that there is this one called Apps, and in here there are essentially certain functions that you can add specifically on here so that it loads when the application starts. Next we have the Create screen. On here you will find the most popular ones, your text labels, text inputs, vertical gallery. Don't worry, we will go through all of these as we go. They are categorized, so you can have all your inputs, buttons, radio buttons, all that kind of stuff. Displays, such as the text label or HTML text. Layouts, which again is mostly containers and vertical galleries and things like that. Media, which include images, 3D objects. It can actually use your camera directly, record video, barcode reader, all kinds of things. Icons. As this is Microsoft, it does have some pre-built-in icons that you can use. Shapes, very much the same. Some of these are button icons and some are just generic shapes that you can use. Charts, very basic, only 3 different types. And mixed reality, so you can have a mixed reality view, as in adding a 3D object inside your camera. Next we have the Data tab. Here you will see all the connections that your application has, so this could be Dataverse or SharePoint, Excel files, all that kind of stuff. Currently we have nothing, but we will be going over this further in the project. Next we also have media, so you can upload images and audio files and stuff like that. There is a maximum size of 64 megabytes of upload that you can do in an app, so just keep that in mind. Next we have PowerAutomate, so you can actually run Power Automations directly from your application. Over here we have variables and collections. So much like JavaScript, you've got variables, and collections are essentially just tables that you can store data in. Then we've got some basic monitoring and tests that you can run. If you open the monitor, you can actually see all the requests going through and back and forth from the user and the app that you made. And last but not least, the search. You can just search for things and find them there. Now with the UI tour done of PowerApps, we're going to end the video. In the next video we'll go through and actually look at a bit of SharePoint and just go through its UI and possibly start with creating some columns that we're going to be using for our expense tracker. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate all the support and suggestions that we've gotten thus far. If you have any questions or any topic that you'd like to cover, feel free to comment down below. Please also check the description, as I do have a email address there that you can email through any suggestions or topics that you'd like to check out. Thank you, and see you in the next one.